Yes, I have started recording also. You can go ahead and tell it.
Okay, all right. So first of all, sorry for delay, and we had some technical problem. But let me thanks everyone for joining this webinar series on the data science learning. And we have the first webinar today from Dr. Neha Sharma. So before we start, let me quickly introduce Dr. Neha Sharma. So she is working with TCS and is a founder secretary of Society of Data Science India. Prior to this, she has worked as a director, Jeel Institute of Business Administration, Pune, and as a deputy director to Padma Shri Dr. D.Y. Patil Institute of Master of Computer Application, Pune. She holds a PhD degree from Indian Institute of Technology, Dhanbad. Earlier it was known as Indian School of Mines, Dhanbad. And she is a senior IEEE member. She has organized several national and international conferences and seminars. Her area of interest includes data mining, database design, analysis and design, artificial intelligence, big data, and cloud computing. With that, I'll hand over to Dr. Neha. Dr. Neha, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Very good evening to all the esteemed listeners. First of all, let me apologize for this technical glitches, but something is there, like it is never in our hands. So I'm so sorry for this delay. But without wasting much time, first let me thank Dr. Parmeshwachari and Dr. Devesh to inviting me and giving me an opportunity to share my views with all of you. And I'm sure it's going to be an insightful 1 hour journey for all of us together. So without wasting much time, let me just proceed. Dr. Dwivedi has already introduced me, so this slide is redundant. Just one thing I would like to tell here is like, I have formed a society that is a not-for-profit organization by name Society for Data Science, just to create a very powerful ecosystem of data science, which includes everybody, students to practitioner, everyone. And this society was formed in 2018, so it is just 2.5 years old now. But then I very proudly say that though it is 2.5 years old, we bring in around 1.5 century years of experience on table, because the kind of people who are associated are very experienced and very senior people, and couple of awards to prove the credibility of my work. Moving on, bang on to the topic. Before I head on to the actual topic, let's have a small discussion on what is data science. I mean, of course, we all have been listening to this these days. Everybody is talking about it, but let's brush it up once again. I mean, I would like you to think on the word data science and break it up into two parts, that is data and science. So what is the meaning of science? Science is the study of structure and behavior of anything. If you study the structure and behavior of an individual, then it becomes a behavior science. If you study the structure and behavior of medicine, it becomes a medical science. If you study structure of behavior of healthcare, it becomes healthcare science, so on and so forth. So if we try to study and structure and behavior of data, it becomes data science. So data science is not just machine learning, it's not just data mining, it's not just deep learning or Python, or it is the complete journey from data to data product. Everything falls in between that. So this is very important for all of us to understand. The data science is not just machine learning. People keep on mixing the terms, So I would like to, whenever needed, I like to give you the perspective of data analysis and data analytics also in between, and how they differ from each other. But before I move on, I would like to share one survey report with you. This survey was taken in the year 2006, And the survey was done to find out top 10 global companies of the world, at global level. And the result had 5 energy companies and 1 IT company. And I am sure you must be knowing, and if you don't know, it was none other than Microsoft. So 2006, only 1 IT company was there in top 10 list. The same survey was done in the year 2016, after 1 decade. With just a blink of eye, now the result had 5 IT companies and 1 energy company. So what happened in just 10 years? 10 years is nothing. So basically, these companies, they realize that they have lots of potential in the form of data. They can do lots of innovative work. They can experiment with that. They can apply data science to the data source which they have, and it has got the potential to bring them to the level of becoming a world leader. So that itself tells you the power of data science, which was already always there and will remain there in times to come. There was an interview in 2016 taken by ex-Google CEO, Mr. Eric Schmidt. He gave an interview, and in that interview, he said, like right from the beginning, when we started storing data and accumulating data, till 2016, the amount of data was in the tune of 5 exabytes. And in 2016, he said, every 2 days we are generating that much amount of data. And now in 2020, we have around 3 zettabytes of data. And they are predicting like by 2025, we'll be having 180 zettabytes. Look at the rate with which the data is growing. And undoubtedly, we are in the 4th paradigm of science, which is science, because of the amount of data which is available around us. I keep on saying that data is like oxygen. The way we are surrounded by oxygen, the same way we are surrounded by data, and like the oxygen is important for our life, same way data is becoming gradually, slowly important for our life. So it is very prudent to use it very smartly and very effectively to get better results out of it. If you do not believe me, probably you will believe Tim Berners-Lee, who is saying the data is precious thing and it will last more than the systems themselves. So everything will change. You will have new technology. You will have new ways of handling things. Everything will change, but only thing will remain with us is data. Likewise, Mr. Vinod Khosla is also saying, who is the co-founder of Sun Microsystem. He says that in the next 10 years, data science and software will do more medicine than all the biological science together. So we are, when I say we, means we data science practitioners and professionals, we are going to embark into all the verticals, wherever data is there. Now, it does not fall under only the domain of computer science or IT or just limited to that. Wherever you have data, you have data science there. I will take you back to 2010 again, because that is important for you to understand. Like till 2010, we had, because of technological revolution, we started generating lots of data because of IoT, blockchain, so many things are there. All latest technology contributes in adding more data to our pile. So because of technological revolution, we already had so much of data, but we were struggling how to store it until we got some framework like Hadoop or similar many other framework, which allowed us to store the data in distributed manner over cloud, and not only allowed us to store the data, also helped us to retrieve it in very faster manner, right? So till 2010, our focus was on like what to do with the data which is getting generated, how to store it. Our focus was on storing the data, how to store it efficiently, effectively. But after 2010, with Hadoop and similar kind of infrastructure already ready, our focus shifted to how to look into the data, how to analyze the data, how to use the data in more good to the business, in more good to the society, humanity, and for everybody. So believe me, we are in the best times. We have all the technological capabilities to store the generated data, to basically look into the data, analyze it. All great algorithms are there, all technologies are there to help us look into the data in different and more insightful manner. So if we have to define the data science, I have my own definition of data science, I say it from data to data product. If you all remember, those who are the student and practitioner of data mining and KDD, we used to call it knowledge discovery in data bases. So we if you remember the KDD model, it started from data pre-processing, data gathering to data pre-processing to data working on the data, preparing some model, and then data visualization, right? So that is again a subset of data science, because data science starts from data, right? From you identify the locations where you can find the data, extract the data, then you perform some simple statistics on that. You perform advanced statistical model, build advanced statistical model on that. Then you perform some analytical algorithms on that, like you perform some prediction, or you can perform some clustering, you can perform some association, correlation. So whatever, depending on kind of data you have, you will perform. You have capability to apply the algorithms to that to get the insight, and then convert those insight into a product which is useful for everybody. So data science is from data to data product, right? Why it is so excitement? Why I mean, it is so exciting. Why everybody is talking about, why it is a buzzword, you know? First reason for anything to become exciting is it offers lots of job. Not only it offers lots of job, it also offers handsome salary, you know. Now it's a trend that every company has to keep appoint data scientist. And but when I say this, I would also like to tell all of you, all the listeners, that data scientist is just a change and tweaking in the terminology. Since the time we have the data, we have been looking into it. So it's not new. Please understand, it's not new. We have been doing things with data right from the beginning, you know, since centuries, you know, at least since last 1 century, you know, we have been doing it. It's just the name which is evolving with time, because business needs a new name. Of course, it is also getting increased in the scope. Like initially statisticians where you only used to perform statistics, then you had data mining specialists who also find out some patterns and did some prediction. Then you had now you have data scientists, so they do everything and also ensure that it gets converted into product. So coming back to this topic is most important thing for the excitement, it offers you lots of job, and also a good handsome salary. And next reason is it has got lots of applications, you know. It has got profuse number of use cases. Name the vertical and data science is there, from travel to marketing to healthcare and sales. This I have taken from the internet. You must have seen this multiple times. It is just an indicative verticals where data science can be applied. But I mean, right from traffic manipulation and traffic handling to your resource optimization, everything, everywhere, your data science can be applied, you know. So very interesting applications are there, but this session is not about discussing the application, so I'm skipping on that. But it is very good to read about applications of data science to get motivated and to know the capabilities and potentials of data science itself. Now, let me tell you about the ecosystem which I have been talking about to give you the perspective. I'm sure most of you must be knowing. For people who know, it will be a brushing up. For people who don't know, it will be a little knowledge for you all. So data science ecosystem will have essentially a data part of it and data science part of it. Now, data part of it will have data. So data can be traditional data and big data. Traditional data is like anything which you store in the form of rows and columns, which is structured, which is also known as structured data. Whereas big data is like profuse amount of data, which can be audio, video, it can be picture, it can be hashtag, likes, whatever. So big data basically holds structured data, semi-structured data, and unstructured data. And it is also characterized by at least 3 V's: volume, variety, and a third V is, so that's a homework for all of you to prompt me that, right? So you need to have a data at the beginning of your analysis. That's the first thing you need, and the data science comes after that. Once you have the data in place, you move to the world of data science to look into your data. So first is, once your data is ready, you will perform exploratory data analysis. You can call it business intelligence, you can call it descriptive data analysis, you can call it just data analysis, whatever you call, but it is the same thing, and you perform it once your data set is ready. Now, once you have looked into your data, you have explored your data, then you move on and look into it from future perspective. Like you start predicting, you know. Data science tools include statistical tools, mathematical tools, programming tools, problem solving tools, and data management tools. So it's a multidisciplinary vertical where so many things come together to solve a problem. And as I told you, it's divided into 3 verticals. So business intelligence, and I'll repeat once again, you call it business intelligence, you call it exploratory data analysis, you call it analysis, you call it descriptive data analysis, but the job you do is to look into your data, because you cannot understand the figures and numbers and pictures. Well, if it is given to you, you know, you need to read through it. So business intelligence or exploratory data analysis is performed on basically the historic data, and look into the historic data. So anything and everything towards the left of your orange dotted line is all related to past, and anything and everything towards the right is towards your future, because you are trying to predict the future, you know. Whether it is traditional method or machine learning, the goals are same. Both are trying to help you in peeping into the future. The only thing is, like with the traditional method, you use advanced statistical modeling like regression, logistic regression, clustering, and so on and so forth. With machine learning, you train machine to learn on its own, and there you use all SVM, neural networks, deep learnings, random forest, so on and so forth, right? So ideally, if you have traditional data, you apply traditional methods, that is advanced statistical model, right? And if you have big data, you go for machine learning. I mean, this is in nutshell for all the beginners to give the complete perspective of this. But when I say that big data, when you have big data, you will go for machine learning, I am not, I mean, please take it, not take it very seriously, because with not so big data also you can apply machine learning on, and you can learn on its own. I mean, when you are learning, when you are training yourself, you can use on average amount of data sets which are available on all open data source. So you can use that to learn machine learning. But in real life, you use big data to give machine, basically the machine will give you the exact result or better result or accurate result when it is applied on big data, because it requires it to train itself, you know. Now we will take COVID-19 data to learn data science concepts. Now, what are those concepts, right? As I told you just now, the data science vertical starts from data to data acquisition, to data preparation, data analysis, data modeling, data visualization, right? To data product. So the first step is to understand the problem, and this is most important, you know, and mainly students, when they work on data science problem, they just pick up the data and then jump on that, you know, which is not right. You need to understand the business problem, and how will you understand? You can understand only by asking many questions, many questions, you know, so that all your doubts, all your confusions are cleared, you need to keep on asking why, you know. So once you have a rigorous marathon session to understand the problem, once your problem definition is clear, probably, then you can go ahead and identify where your data related, which will address, which will help you in solving the problem, addressing the problem, you will find it, you know. So you need to identify the data location then. And then you can go to the database where it will be found out. Also, you can go to web servers, you can scratch on logs, databases, you can hunt on APIs, online repository. So you have to go through multiple locations, explicit databases, and something like this, which is there on your screen, you know. So everywhere you have to search and get the data for your work. Now, once your data is ready, you have to prepare it. You can't directly go and jump and start working on it. So preparation includes two parts. One is data, broadly includes, in fact, it includes many parts, but just for now, it broadly includes two parts. So data cleaning and data transformation. Now, cleaning means you remove all the inconsistent data, all spelling mistakes are addressed and corrected and made uniform. All missing and duplicate values are changed and replicated in case if you know something, or removed, whatever decision you have to take depending on the data set, depending on the problem statement you have to take. Now, once your data is clean, then you might need to transform it, you know. Suppose somebody has, if you have an attribute where you are recording height of somebody has given height in inch, somebody has given in centimeters, somebody has given in feet, meter. So it has to be brought into one unit. So that is called transformation. And for transforming the data, there are so many tools available, Talent, Informatica, so many things are there. So that can be used. Now, once the database is prepared, what will you know? You don't know. Everything is stored in the database. You don't know anything. So for that, you need to perform exploratory data analysis, which will help you read through your data, which will help you describe the data. This will actually tell you the story from your historic data, you know. So which feature has to be taken, which variable should be used for your model. So all those things you will come to know only when you perform exploratory data analysis. If you do not perform exploratory data analysis and directly jump to build a model, probably you will end up selecting wrong attributes, wrong features, and then end up building a wrong model, you know. So it's very essential for you to understand the data. See, these things we keep on skipping, you know. You get a model and you get a data set and you jump on building a model, which is wrong. And I will be saying this again and again till the end of the session, till the time it is all permanent. So this becomes a very important step in the entire life cycle of your data science. So then comes the fifth step, which is data modeling. You can use lots of algorithms are there. You have to decide if it is a supervised data set, then you can perform some prediction forecasting. If it is unsupervised data set, then you can think of clustering, classification, association, correlation, whatever, right? So depending on the data set, you can decide on the algorithms, apply algorithms, and once you apply algorithms, multiple algorithms, you have to choose which one is best, right? And then you need to train your model and test it again. And then once your model is there, you can build your model using Python, R, SAS, right? So this is, once your data is prepared, you have to build a model. And once your model is built, it has to be trained and tested. Once your model is built, you will get some results. Those results need to be represented and communicated with the help of some visualization tools. The charts and graphs can be made with the help of tools like Tableau and other tools which are there. Now, once you have conveyed it, communicated it clearly to your client or to your to the people for whom you are doing the solving the problem, then you can deploy. Why deploy? Because it's a product, you know. So you will deploy it, and then you will take the real-time statistics. You will keep on monitoring it, take the real-time statistics, and keep on basically correcting it with every iteration, if at all it is needed. Now, let's apply all these things which we have just seen. That was just a life cycle for you all to understand. Let me take you through the real scenario wherein we are working on a project taking COVID-19. I mean, everybody is working. I am sure most of you also must be looking at it. I will tell my story of my project, right? So the problem statement was to predict the number of cases, and this basically, yeah, this project is ongoing. But then we had a hackathon and a programming contest also with IEEE Pune section here, and wherein good number of teams had participated, and the problem statement given to them was and this contest was conducted on 30th of April, right? So they were asked to predict what will be the number of cases on 15th of May. So we had multiple teams, as I told you, and they all were given this problem statement to predict number of cases on 15th of May, you know. So on 30th of May, they programmed and they submitted to us, and 8th of May, they were taken a virtual interview on how they did it and what made them to select a particular distance. So now going back to this project, is the first step is to identify where will you get the data. So problem statement is clear that you need to predict the number of cases in future, right? And along with that, we also wanted to look into infrastructure available and human resource available, so that we know in the case of eventuality, do we have sufficient human resource to help us, and do we have sufficient infrastructure to admit patient and to actually serve the patient, right? So so resource optimization and also like prediction. So two things were there. So first thing was to find out where we are going to get the COVID data. So we all know now this is a known thing, like you will get a world COVID data at Worldometer and India related COVID data at covid19india.org. And you also have some data at mygov.in, which is the official website, right? Now, first two are crowdsourcing portals, you know, and they collect the data with the help of APIs. But then they do it faster than any government, so you can use this also for your experiment. Now, second problem was to get the data related to your infrastructure and human resource. Just to confirm before I proceed, am I audible? If somebody can confirm.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. So the second challenge was, see, first was very easy, like COVID data is like openly available. It's an open data set. So it was available, you know, so that was the easiest job. Second problem was to get your human resource related data and infrastructure related data. So first document which we searched was National Health Profile 2019. Now this is a PDF document. PDF document of 250 plus pages, and all the data, like you will find just one piece of information on one page, or maybe on couple of pages. Then you'll find some other information. So nothing was at one place, and that was also in PDF, right? The link of particular document is given on the screen. You can search in case if you are interested. Then we also looked into a data set which came from World Health Organization. Basically, we looked into the number of doctors we have state-wise. That data we got it from the here. Then we also looked into Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. There we had a statistical details of all the data related to healthcare and human resource and infrastructure, everything. We also looked into data.gov.in for hospital related data and human resource to each hospital, phone number, and all those details were there. We also looked into Medical Council of India to look at how many medical colleges are there, government and private. In case of emergency, if we need any help, fourth year students, like the students who are intern, can be used as a human resource. So that fact also should be there. So we tried to look at human resource and infrastructure from all the perspective. Now the data, the problem was, no, it is not simple and straight. You know, somewhere you got the data in CSV, somewhere you got the data in PDF and various forms, you know. Image was also there, so you need to do it again yourself. Now, the second problem was like you have a same piece of information at multiple location. Like if you want infrastructure related data, you'll find it at multiple location. Now, which one to choose? So we applied a yardstick, like wherever we found it the latest, that one we considered, you know. And also the granularity at which the data was available was also different in different documents. In some document, the data was available to the Gram Panchayat level, to the CHC, PHC level, like community health center and public health center level. Whereas in other document, you got it at state level. So the granularity was also different. So everything has to be, and then there were so many missing data. So they just prepared the template and everything is missing. You know, you look at government website, all the data, you'll find it missing. And this is not only with COVID. I am working on other project also, like tree census data, pollution data, air pollution data. So when you look at the data from outside, you feel like what you have got, well, you have got a gold mine, but then when you look into the gold mine, it's all empty. You know, there's no data actually to work. So this is very, very critical, you know, to get the right data, because unless until you get the right data, the results are not going to be right. So once you have acquired the data, then you need to prepare it. As I told you, there were so many missing values, so many same terminologies were used in different abbreviations. So you need to uniform, make it uniform. All those things, granularity also had to be matched. Everything had to be done, you know. So we prepared the data set. Now, after preparing, we got something like this. Is just a snapshot of the data set, which is right now in the form of Excel sheet, right? Now, each band which you see on my screen is coming from different place, you know. So we had to match it, bring it together to the same granularity. Now here, what I'm showing you is at state level, right? So you have first band in light blue shows that number of government hospital and beds. Then second shows sub-centers, PHC and CHC. Now this is the hierarchy in which healthcare system is organized in our country. Like it is at sub-center is the lowest level where you have something to related to healthcare. Then you have PHC, then you have CHC, then you have subdivisional hospitals and district hospitals, right? So on and so forth. Same way. So now you can see like Ayush post-graduation college, nothing is there. So not many empty cells you can see on your screen, right? So now, as we have been discussing right from beginning, looking at the data, you will not be able to understand anything. So next thing is you need to understand what your data is trying to tell you. So data analysis and exploratory analysis needs to be done now, right? So I am telling you the facts and figures related to Maharashtra state because it is very serious state. So let's look at it and be responsible wherever we are. Stay at home as much as possible. Do not go out because things are really, really bad, you know. And all this data I have taken as on yesterday. So it's very recent data. So this basically the India map shows you number of cases state-wise. Now coming to this is a very simple graph which I have presented on your screen, but this is to put across the fact that numbers does not speak to yourself. You need to transform it in the form of graph, you know. I mean, people have always been saying that you read more fast, more efficiently through your eyes, right, than your brain. So looking at graph gives you a complete picture: how many number of positive cases, how many cured, how many deaths, how many active cases. So this gives you a complete picture, a small simple thing, but I just wanted to put a fact that numbers in literature text will not have that much impact as you will have of these graphs and figures, right? Now, the next slide, I present you the India scenario. When looking at the graph, immediately you can say the Maharashtra is bad, followed by Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh and other states. Now, this screen tells you the infection rate and death rate. Now, infection rate is like total population of Maharashtra divided by your number of active cases is the infection rate. And death rate is like out of infected cases, how many people died. So which is, of course, not too high as far as population is concerned, but it is very serious, still serious. So look at the statistics. You have 33,133 active cases, and Maharashtra alone accounts for 36.8% of active cases in India. Infection rate is 0.5%, whereas death rate is 3.4%, which is very, very high. Number of tests we have conducted, it's there on your screen, 4,34,000, and average daily growth over just for last 5 days has increased a lot, 4.76. So looking at the data, you can conclude something like this. So you have the data, you have performed exploratory analysis, and because of exploratory analysis, you have these conclusions. This is what is important. Now looking at it, you can predict your future, right? Now looking at the infrastructure, like number of beds, the number of beds are there in directly related to hospitals. So hospitals are divided into urban hospitals and rural hospitals. So number of beds in rural hospital and number of beds in urban hospitals are shown on your screen. This is like the statistics of number of beds in your country. And if you want to have a look at Maharashtra, it's pretty low in comparison to the states and union territories surrounding it. Dadar and Nagar Haveli has got 1.47, whereas Goa has got 2.07, and Maharashtra has got 0.46 alone, right? So this is serious. Now, if you have this statistics, you know in case of emergency from where to borrow, where to go for help. Your neighboring state has got better situation, and they have got less cases also, so that you can go to them and ask for a help. I mean, this is just a situation which I am predicting. So beds per 100 population is 0.04, and I am talking about Maharashtra alone. And infection rate we have already seen, it's 0.05. That means the number of bed and infection rate is almost full, not almost, it is full. In fact, it is beyond. So serious state. Now looking at the human resource at different hierarchical level, you have at CHC 485, then PHC you have 2,900 doctors, then government doctors 6,981, and then you have certain number of registered doctor in the state of Maharashtra, right? Now looking at the screen, you can make out like you have so many registered doctors, but you have so less government doctors, and these kind of cases go to government hospitals only. So that's the reason these days doctors are being sent on deputation to government hospitals. It is mandatory for them. Not only doctors come under human resource, you have health workers also and health assistant also, and this is the statistics. Now, immediately after that, I have just wanted to have a look at number of doctors in India. Why I want you to have a look at number of doctors in India? To help you understand that Maharashtra on one side has got highest number of cases, on the other side has got not good number of doctors, So that is something which I wanted to highlight through this slide. So if I have to summarize that, the number of MCI registered doctor is 0.13%. Rural health worker is very less, 0.1%, or you can say 0.2%. Still, as far as human resources is concerned, we are still okay. However, number of beds and infrastructure, we are struggling badly. Now, let's focus only on Mumbai. We were looking at Maharashtra till now. Let's look at just Mumbai. So Maharashtra has got 62,000 cases. Mumbai alone has got 36,000 cases. So 50%. Maharashtra has got India's 50%, and Mumbai has got Maharashtra's 50%. Same way, infection rate and death rate, which is higher. If this is brought down, probably the Maharashtra will also, situation in Maharashtra and the statistics of Maharashtra will also improve. So this is what is the founding on the basis of our exploratory data analysis. So 19,529 active cases, and which is 58.9% of Maharashtra total active cases. Infection rate is high here, death rate is high here, and growth rate in last 5 days is also very high. And we are performing lot many tests in comparison to whole of Maharashtra. So lot many tests are being conducted every day. So basically what I wanted to highlight through these slides is like, you have data, you will not be able to make out anything. You need to perform some exploratory analysis and then come to such conclusions, which will help you get some insight to your data which you have acquired, right? Likewise, you have statistics on your beds also. So Mumbai has got 4,750 beds, and this details we have taken from sciencedewire.in, right? So you can infer the details after performing exploratory data analysis, and likewise you have something from on the doctors also, right? Very grim situation as far as doctors are concerned. As far as Maharashtra was concerned, the situation of doctors looked very decent, but when you look at Mumbai, you can make out it's not. Mumbai alone has got dearth of doctors and dearth of infrastructure too, right? So this will at least give you the insight of the data which you have collected. This is a comparison of Mumbai and Maharashtra. So dark brown is for Maharashtra and light brown is for Mumbai. So if you look at active cases for Maharashtra and for Mumbai, ratio wise it's too high, whereas number of beds and number of doctors are again too less. So Mumbai is really in bad state, Now this slide, I have kept it intentionally to give you a perspective, like not only when you look into data, you come to know that not only you have like MCI registered doctors, you also have Ayush doctor. Ayush doctors are doctors who are practicing Ayurveda, Unani, homeopathy, and many more things, So they also can be also taken for help in case of emergency. So if you have statistics before you, probably you can plan your things. Now, once you have understood your data, next thing is you would like to go for predictive modeling. And how do you do predictive modeling? You take historical data, you apply some predictive algorithm. Now, algorithm can be anything: classification, clustering, predictive, anything. And then you build a model. And then when you get a new data, you pass through the model and get the predictions. So this is just an brief description about what is how you the predictive model. Now here I am not giving you any results, whereas I am sharing you the result of the competition which I just mentioned, which we conducted at IEEE Pune section. And I will be sharing two results, and I'll be just sharing the thought process behind building these predictive models, and I'm sure you will also find it interesting. So group one, they applied polynomial regression model because this is a time series data. So they thought and it was a competition, they didn't had much time to explore and all those things. They thought polynomial will work fine, and in fact it has worked fine also for them. So they build a model using a polynomial regression, and as per them, on 15th of May, the count should have been 73,409, whereas on 15th of May, it was 82,000 something, right? So we cannot say this model was grossly wrong. Probably they can titrate their degree of the model and probably come to the correct figure also, which they are doing right now, right? So this was one approach, and believe me, both the teams were working independently. Nobody had no way to contact each other and to cheat like an exam, so it was all virtual contest, and they were all working independently at their respective place. Team 2 also used polynomial regression algorithm, and they used it to the degree 10, whereas the previous team had used it to degree 4 or 5, I think. So to my surprise, they predicted 508 on 15th of May. Now, while I was interviewing them, I asked them the question, and this interview was on 8th of May. 15th May was yet to come, on that day. So I said, it is not possible on 8th of May. It is so high. I mean, I don't see any reason that it will flatten in just 4, 5 days, 6, 7 days, So the justification which this team had given is like, they read the pattern which other countries are following. They studied Germany, they studied Spain. So they realized that the moment the country had applied lockdown, observed lockdown, the curve has started becoming flat. So they have sigmoid curve, it has started, you can see on your screen, at both the places immediately after lockdown, the curve has started flattening. So they thought on 30th of April, they thought from 1st of May, the strict lockdown has been declared. So probably that will affect the curve. And that was their thought process, because of which the number has come down. So this was very interesting. See, this is still a model, which thing which I want to highlight here to all the audience present is model cannot be perfect. This gives you a direction, cannot be perfect. It is not a simulation. It's just a model. So you need to keep on doing it and keep on improving it, So I really appreciate the thought process instead of directly doing it. And our country's this thing count was this, and this is, I think, 2-3 days back. So you can see the count is slightly less than today's count. This is, I think, 25th of May count, right? So basically, you have to understand your data, and then you have to choose the algorithm which you plan to use, and then build a model, then look at it, train it, and then probably then come up with the final model. Once the model is built, then also you have to look into it again and again. You can't just ignore it and be relaxed that you have built a model. So once you have built a model, then you should have some visualization tool to actually express what you have understood and what your model is showing, and then probably, if it is fine, it can get converted into a product, right? Insight and product. Now let me take you to few lessons of data science, and this again I'll explain you with the help of COVID data. Dr. Dwivedi, we have some time, no? I will take another 15 minutes to complete.
I think.
Hello?
Yeah. Dr. Neha, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I think, yeah, should be fine.
Okay, thank you. So why I have kept these lessons of data science, because it is very important to build a right model. If you do not follow this, if you do not understand this, probably you might end up building a incorrect model. So first thing, you need to understand that data collection is a process. It is very essential for you to understand that it's a process. So now in the case of COVID, there is a direction by international standard for COVID reporting that every country will submit their details of each hospital, accumulate it and submit it to the central location on daily basis, right? Now, look at this graph. This is on the basis of daily reporting by United States. This is for Italy, and this I have taken from Worldometer. So depending on the data which they have submitted, these graphs have been generated. Now you can see the graph and you can make out which day how many cases were reported, right? Now look at the graph of France. Now looking at the graph of France, I'm sure you can easily, anybody can say that there's a pattern in the data, there's a spike, suddenly a weekly spike is there. Now, why is that spike? Have we followed the data collection process properly? If we have followed, what is the reason for that spike, right? Now let's look at this is UK's data, right? Like I've shown you a couple of other countries, this is UK's data. Like France, even UK's data has got a pattern. Every Sunday and Monday, there is a big drop. So was the data collection process followed for gathering the data, or it's a genuine dip? So that you have to understand before proceeding. So we all have noticed that there is a weekly cycle, significant drop at the beginning of each week, which looks very interesting. And if you do not understand it, and if it is not a flaw in data collection process, then it will have altogether different model. But if there is a flaw, then it has to be corrected and normalized before you proceed. So once you started studying it, you realize that this is not a correct cycle. This is a fake cycle, because the data which is reflected in your database and then getting transformed into graph is just an artifact of the way you have collected the data, the way it has been reported to you. Now, the pattern which I have, the guidelines which I just shared with you, like the international guideline says that every day the hospitals have to submit the data to their central, and the central will look into that and upload it on the next day. So today we will get to see yesterday's data, right? Now, what used to happen when they dived in, tried to find out what is the reason. So they found out that Saturday, Sunday, because of 50% of human resource, and whatever 50% of human resource used to be there, they were busy in taking care of patient, which is their primary job, right? So in the wake of looking after their patient, they missed on submitting the right data. Either they under-reported or they reported less number, or previous day's number. So data was either incomplete or under-reported. And this because the data collection process was not properly followed, right? So the way you collect the data will have the reflection on your graphs and model, right? So here in this case, it is a fake cycle because the process of data collection was not followed, maybe for more urgent reason, because patients were huge in number, the staff was not sufficient in number, for whatever reason, but the process was not followed and under-reporting was done or incomplete reporting was done, right? So you have to understand this. And you will not understand this unless until you go through the exploratory data analysis phase. So now you understand the importance of exploratory data analysis. The second lesson is outliers need to be investigated properly. Now look at this. This is a very famous graph of China, and we all can see the outlier on 12th of February. Now, what was the case? Suddenly on one day, you have 14,108 cases, new cases. What's the reason? Is it a fake entry? It's a wrong reporting or wrong recording, or a result of a situation 7 days back or 10 days back, like a gathering or a football match or something like that. So either this is a truth or it's a fake thing. So if it's a truth, there has to be a backup history which tells that there was a gathering, there was a meeting, there was a football match, there was a theater or something for which so many people had gathered 10 days back or 7 days back, whatever is the incubation time, right? Or if it is a fake, then either it is wrong reporting by the authorities or wrong recording, I mean typo error kind of thing, right? So this is what I just told you. So any data set you take, it will have outliers. You need to understand, now I am taking COVID data set, but for every data set you need to, if you get to see any outlier, you need to see whether it is correct or a fake thing. So I have explained you this also. So they tried to investigate why was this spike on 12th of February, right? So they realized that China used to perform two types of tests. First is RNA based test and second one is X-ray based test. Because they had so many patients that only one type of test was not enough, right? So blood test, RNA based test is a blood test, was done to more symptomatic patient, whereas X-ray based test was done to slightly less symptomatic person, you know. So they were performing two tests, but till 11th of February they were submitting only RNA based test. On 12th of February they submitted RNA based test of 11th of February and X-ray based test right from beginning. And that's the reason of this fact. So now here it is not a wrong reporting, neither it is wrong recording, but it's the fact which has been accumulated over the period of time and submitted on one day. Now, before, as a data scientist, before you go ahead with building a model, you need to address this, normalize this, and see how you can handle this, right? But of course, you cannot go ahead like this under any reason, under any circumstances. Third lesson, especially when you handle geographic data set, you need to normalize the data, right? Now, this is basically depicting the London Borough, and the darker ones are like more serious COVID cases, implying more serious COVID cases, and lighter ones are less serious COVID cases, right? So now the fact is, like, if two places have got same number of count, like if you have 300 cases in a small village and same number of cases in a city where you have 8 million people, right? So is it the same severity? No, right? In a village where you have 500 people and 300 are affected, it is certainly more serious than city where you have 8 billion and 300 are affected. So you need to understand. If you do not understand that and just mark the severity of the boroughs only on the count, you will have something like the one which is shown on your screen. Now let us be specific and talk about two boroughs. Just bring your attention to two boroughs. One is Croydon, which is down south on your screen, dark colored, and Southwark, which is just above it. Right now, both the boroughs have got same number of count, but thing which has to be kept in mind before designing a map like this, where you indicate the seriousness and not so serious place, you need to understand what is the population of these two places. Now, population wise, Croydon is 20% more populated than Southwark, but then size wise, it is huge, right? So you cannot have the same severity if the number of cases are same, right? Number of counts are same. So in that case, you need to normalize the data. And how do you normalize the data? You take the number of count and divide it by number of population, and then you get the count. And once you do that, then of course you can see that the color combination has changed. Earlier it was both Southwark and Croydon was of same color. Now it is lighter and that is darker, right? So especially when you handle geographic data, you need to normalize, because there are two places which differ in size, which differ in population. So the impact of the count will not be the same, you know. So you have to take that into consideration before you proceed. Now, fourth and the last lesson is, now you understood all the previous three lessons, kept in mind, you were very careful about everything, and then you build up a model. Still, the fourth lesson says that howsoever carefully you have designed a model, you have to be suspicious about the result. You cannot blindly trust and be happy about your result, right? Treat your surprising result with suspicion and check it 4 times. No matter how hard you work to understand your problem statement and then build the model. But there are so many reasons that your model can go wrong just because of small accident, you know. Now everybody is building a model, and this is one Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation has also built a model, right? To predict COVID. So they did it for US first. And as per their prediction, they say that 60,000 total deaths will happen till August, right? So this is the prediction for US, and they have done it on 10th of April. See, till 10th of April, it is a solid line, and after that, all the predictions are in dotted line. So from there, they have started predicting. So they say that by August, they will have 60,450 cases, right? And you and me, everybody knows what is the count. And this is slightly old. This is as of 25th of May. But it is huge, you know. I mean, what I wanted to tell you is it's not matching in any way, you know. So now when there is a gap, this is 60,000, and here it is much, much beyond it. The people who have died are more than that, right? Now, I'm not showing this to tell you that the person or the team who has built the model is, they have failed in that. There's nothing like fail and pass. It's a model, and all of us can fail, you know. This is just an instance which I'm sharing with you, where a model can go wrong. Model will go wrong. It's a model. It's not a simulation. Model will go wrong because it's a guess. It's an algorithm, right? And for a COVID-like situation, which none of us have seen in our lifetime, it's rare of rarest situation. We do not know what is driving it. We do not know. We are all in dark. We have just few facts and figures with us, and we are trying to hunt in the dark, you know. So I am not belittling the work of any data scientist who is working day and night to build up a model. This is just an instance that models can go wrong, so you have to be suspicious about it. Now they did the same exercise for UK, right? And for UK they predicted 66,314 cases, and look at their confidence band. It is very narrow, right? Now, the question here is, your US is 330 million population, whereas UK is 66 million population. Not only that, size-wise also, UK is very small, US is very big. So this is somehow not possible, you know. So looking at the results on everyday basis, they worked on their model and they have come up again with the model. But I'll like to show you the exact thing, you know. So UK, because the size is low, population is low, so this count is coming to 36,390 deceased. I'm telling you, sharing you the figure of the people who have died. This is again of 25th of May. So in UK, in US, you have 96 deaths, 96,000 deaths. I mean, 97,000 deaths as on 25th of May, whereas in UK you have 36,393 deaths. Now, looking at this, they went back and reworked on their model, and then they came up with again a model of for UK alone, but now with a broader band, you know, confidence band. Now it starts from 27,557 to 1,50,000. Now it fits in a better way, right? So treat your own model with the same skepticism as I'm doing it for this team's model. I should be doing it for my model also. That is what is the message. If you are surprised by the result, assume that you have made a mistake until you understand why you have got that surprising result. Don't blindly trust your model, right? With due respect to all of those who are building a model, but this is essential if you want to build a right model, a successful model, right? With that, I come to an end of the session, and I would like to end by saying that the future of data science is very, very bright, and it is going to change. In fact, data science is the only thing which is giving us a ray of hope, because in this grim situation, we all are looking at the data, facts, figures, whether you are a data scientist or not, still you are looking, every layman is looking at the data and trying to keep himself busy with the facts and figures which are thrown to him through news channel, news papers or other online media. So you will have in coming times, you will have increase in data science role. It will be defined very clearly. You will have more jobs. In fact, it will be included in your education system. It might come in at school level also. And the advanced data science will be fostered with machine learning and advancement of it. With that, I would like to thank you, Dr. Devesh and Dr. Parmeshachari, for giving me opportunity to share my work and idea with all of you. Thank you so much. If you have
All
any
right.
doubt, yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Neha. And thank you very much for very insightful thought on the data science, and very well described, starting from very basic. What is the data? What is science? And data science together, what it means, and how it is important and playing an important role in our professional as well as the personal life. And especially the COVID-19 case study, very interesting and very relevant. So thanks very much. Thanks again. And now open up for few questions, comment from the audience.
Hello, sir. Some questions are there in the question and answer. Hello, madam. Can I read the question?
Yeah, Dr. Jalja, please go ahead, Dr. Jalja.
The first question: how accuracy of data can determine, or how to determine the taken data is accurate? What is possible chances of error?
Chances of error is huge if you do not treat the data, pre-process the data properly at the beginning. The chances are very high, and accuracy measures are there. There are confidence metrics, and so many things are there to lift, gain. So many things are there to measure the accuracy of your model. Prescribed things are there.
Next question, ma'am. Next question: which algorithm well suited for data analysis?
Which algorithm well suited for data analysis? Now, I mean, here I would like to once again clear to all of you is when we say data analysis, that means you are looking at past and trying to understand what your historic data has to say. But when you say analytics, that means you are trying to look into the future and predict something, or trying to find out some pattern or correlation or association. So analysis is looking at the past, and analytics is looking at future. As I said, to predict the future or find out some pattern, correlation or association. Now, I cannot give a blanket answer for which is the good algorithm, analytics algorithm to predict or do something. It depends on your data, right? Your data can be supervised or unsupervised depending on the data and your problem statement. There are so many algorithm available. Like for time series, like COVID data is time series. So time series algorithms are there. So looking at the data, you need to choose the algorithm. I cannot tell you one algorithm. I have many favorite algorithm, but it applies at a particular situation, you know, and and to a particular data set.
Okay, ma'am. Next question. How is data model is presented on hackathon?
Data model presented on the hackathon. Acha, in our hackathon, we had taken this, PDF of, like, students had used their Jupyter notebook, and so they had shown all visualization and all in the form of notebook, only Jupyter notebook. So that way, I mean, even you can do, or you can convert it into PDF and show it.
Okay. Next question, ma'am. Lots of research work is going on how AI, ML, DL can be used in VLSI design.
VLSI design is not my area. Sorry, I will not be able to address that. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, Devish here, I can add on that. So yeah, there are a lot of not only research, now it's a realization and actual use is happening for the AI, ML, and the deep learning, and especially the areas where we can improve in terms of the turnaround time and the also the accuracy. And I would like to quote one of the latest research paper published from Google, I think the VLSI group in the ISSCC 2020, that was doing a chip design using the AI and the deep learning, and there they quoted, like, if you do same thing with the customer conventional approach, where we do a lot of human intervention and then manual effort versus doing the same thing using the AI and the ML technique, significant reduction not only in the turnaround time and also the accuracy was very well within the error limit. So people should look into that paper. That's very well described. And then on top of that, all the industries, even the ED industries, trying the usage of AI and then the machine learning for the turnaround time as well as the making it more effective. So lot more work going on. Not only the research, even in the industries side, also a lot more happening. Yeah, Dr. Jalja can go with the next.
Only any question I can see.
Yeah, and in case if anything is there, I mean, my email ID is there, and my phone number is also there.
Asking, hello, ma'am. Participants are asking your PPT.
This is the ongoing work, madam. I will not be able to share this at this point of time, but maybe once the work is over, I will surely share.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Neha madam, thank you. Thanks for your wonderful session. All participants are enjoyed with your presentation. I am very grateful to you for accepting our invitation and delivering the wonderful speech today. So I hope all participants are enjoying. Thank you, madam. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
Take care.
all
Bye.
right. All right. Thanks, Dr. Neha, and thanks to all the participants. Thank you very much. Stay safe and healthy. Thank you.
Yeah, I thank our Circuits and System Society chapter, Dr. Devesh, and our chair, Bangalore section chair, Puneet Mishra sir, and all Exicom members. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
All right. Thanks everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.